guys. Welcome to Broke Teachers Travel Podcast. I'm Marnie.
And I'm Jeff.
And we were talking the other day about funny things that have happened when we have traveled with students. And we thought, okay, this would be a great topic for our podcast. We need to share this stuff with our friends and all of our followers because we have got some hilarious moments that have happened through the years, I think.
And, I laughed so hard, we were thinking about some of them. And, so the first, one of the first things we always talk about, even with kids, is to be prepared.
Yeah, being prepared is very important. You have had a specific incident, I would say, that has happened that made you think of things that you always need to take with you.
Right. One of the things that when you're traveling and you're away for a while, a lot of people, go into the bathroom, public bathrooms. That's a big issue, and a lot of people don't do it. Okay. Now, if you're out and about, sometimes it just happens, especially if you're in other countries and the digestion's just quite not right or something.
Mm-hmm.
But this one actually occurred, several years ago, where I'm with a group of kids. And
it was a road trip, wasn't it?
It was a road trip, and we, you have all. First of all, make sure you get all the kids, numbers, so if they have a problem or whatever. Well, in this case, I had a problem. Had to go to the bathroom, and it looked like there was toilet paper, and when I pulled down, there was one little square, and I'm like, that's not going to work. And so I ended up texting one of the students, and I said, hey, I need you to find me some toilet paper. And they were like, what? And I was like, I need it now. I'm in the stall. Bring me this toilet paper. So in a few minutes, the kid comes, and he's like, hey, Coach, hey, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm here. And then he doesn't have toilet paper. He has baby wipes. And I'm like,
which are not flushable.
And I'm like, what? I said, why did you bring me baby wipes? And he said, that's all anyone had. And I said, anyone who? And he said, anyone in the gym. And I'm like, what? And he said, yeah. And so, so I had to use the baby wipes. And when I walked out, the entire gym of maybe 600 or 700 people clapped and gave me a standing ovation. So from that point forward, I always carry with me in my carry-on, my day bag, whatever, I always carry toilet paper. So
yes, you do. There may even be a roll in the back of our car just for safety.
And it happens, guys. And but to have to depend on that student to save the day. But I was very happy. Wasn't quite happy with the wet wipes, but the problem was solved.
It was solved. Yes. I think one of my favorite memories was probably when we took a group to Europe. And our bus driver was hilarious. He was so funny. He hated our tour guide.
Yeah.
The relationship dynamics was so funny because she would always make him late. He was on the clock. He couldn't be late. And he would just fuss at her and mumble under his breath the entire time, and we could hear him, and it got us tickled, and we were laughing, and it was so funny.
Yeah, one of the things when in Europe is that their travel industry is heavily regulated, so you could only work like 9 hours a day, and so if you work anything over that, you actually get fined, and your company gets fined, and so this was consistently for about 6 days.
Everywhere we went. Everywhere we were made late.
And, this guy, his name was Franco, and he was just such a funny guy because there were, again, if you've never been to Europe or been out of the country, you think traffic and driving is bad here.
It is nothing.
Yeah.
It is nothing.
And I'd been a few times before Marnie decided to go, and she would just be holding her breath and
yes. And the seat and anything else I could clench.
And Franco, this tour guide or this bus driver, he didn't know a lot of English. Now he did know every word of profanity in English.
Yes, he did.
Because he used
that came out clearly.
Yes, that came out clearly, and it was usually profanity followed by the tour guide's name.
Yes, yes, it was.
But so we're in this big bus, and we're going through these areas, and
we were in Paris, weren't we? Was it Paris or Rome?
No, we were in Rome.
It was. You're right. It was Rome.
And we're in Rome, and they have, in Europe, their cars are much smaller. And man, we were All right, he was moving so quickly, and he hit a car. Okay, he
Bumped it,
bumped
yeah.
it, and nobody stopped. Nobody did everything, and I was
Because
like,
it's common occurrence.
and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, and he looks, he says, no worry, bigger bus, a little car, bigger bus, a little car. We are fine. Oh, we win. And I'm like, okay, all right. So
He said we win every time.
we win every time. And so if you're ever in Rome or anywhere in Italy, one of the fun games that we do with kids is we sit at one of those roadside cafes and we count to see how many cars pass by that do not have a dent in it. Okay,
Yes.
because it is a lot more common over there.
Absolutely, it is. Do you remember, speaking of Europe, the night that we had free time? We were on a tour with students. We had free time, and nobody remembered to tell us that they closed one of the tube lines, and we were trying to get back to our hotel, and that was a line we needed.
I absolutely love in Europe the metro system. You pay a couple dollars, you go anywhere, no driving, no whatever. It's quicker. But if you're out late at night, those tube lines, those metro lines, they will close. And if they close, you may be several miles from your destination. And
Yeah.
so, how do we even get home? Do we walk? Or
There was an alternate line, and then we walked several blocks to get back to the
Right.
hotel after that, but it took some investigating to
Right.
get there.
Right.
And the kids the whole night, the whole thing was mind the gap.
Mine.
Mind the gap.
And yeah, absolutely. And I kept saying it, and I was annoying this one kid, and I really thought she was going to turn around and punch me in the face. But,
Yeah, that was a distinct possibility.
but it was, but as always, mind the gap.
It was so funny, though. It was almost as funny as getting stuck on the double-decker bus. We did multiple loops on that thing because did we get on the wrong one?
No, we didn't get on. Okay, so this was our first time ever taking kids. Okay,
Yeah.
and sometimes if you do these organized tours, they give you time to yourself, and they're like, oh, well, you could take a double-decker bus. One thing that we've talked about before is public transportation is a lot cheaper than some of the other transportation or tours. So for the double-decker bus, like for $3 or $4, as opposed to a hop on, hop off 40 or 50. So we hopped on, but we just had
didn't get off.
we didn't get off. And so, it was like cool because it was late at night and it was in London. We had all the kids with us and it was just beautiful. And, so you have all the bridges and the lights and the towers. And so we go through it one time and then they start again. And so we go through it a second time. And so I'm trying to play like I know what's going on. And again,
None of us had a clue.
this is my first tour. And so finally, after coming to the end, the thank goodness he spoke English because we're in England. He comes back to me and says, "Hey, where do you guys need to get off on?" I said, "Oh, I don't know." And he says, "Well, because I've got to take the bus back now, and then my shift's over. So let me know where you need to go, and I'll take you there."
Yeah,
So-
he took us. Actually, he went off of his route to help us, and that was so nice. It was so helpful. Speaking of London, I think there was a great race there one time, wasn't there?
Okay, so this has been several years ago when I would hit the gym every day and I was lean, and we would cardio king then, and we had one of the students are like she kept talking all of this smack, and I was like, well, I run, and I'm like, I run, and she was like, what do you want to race? And I'm like, no, I don't want to race. And she's like, well, let's race. And I'm like, no. And so we decide to race. And so it was a Tower Bridge, and we end up having this epic race. And again, I think the issue was that I could go for the longer distance. So that was it. So now, no doubt the first mile would have been great, but on the, I think I wouldn't have done that one. But on the third mile, I had it. And so I was victorious in the great Tower Bridge race. Now,
I think she might have a different story to tell him.
she will dispute this, but this other student who was not even in the smack talking, he got a late start and beat us both. and as he ran by me and her, we were both looking and like, what the heck? But yeah, he did well.
Yeah, and that's funny that you say that though, because bridges are not your favorite thing
Oh,
at all.
oh my God,
in life.
I absolutely hate bridges. Going across bridges, those are things. Even though I have to cross a bridge twice a day to go to work, I'm not a fan of them. So I don't know. I think at this stage, I would probably rather walk across that bridge than drive across that bridge.
And over the years, both students and parents have taken advantage of that fear just a little.
Oh my goodness! So one of the better stories is one of my students. We were one of my students' parents. We were driving, so we had to drive back and forth to these events. Well, this guy is a minister, okay,
with a great sense of humor.
With a great sense of humor. His wife is like the sweetest person in the world, and I'm in the car with them, and we are driving, and we come across this narrow bridge, and there's
old narrow bridge,
and I kind of always like grab onto the
handle thing, yeah.
And so we go get about halfway over, and he swerves the car. He's now
purposely.
Yes, purposely. He swerves the car. A natural reaction occurs. I was much like the bus driver I talked about in Rome, and maybe not the most appropriate language came out. And I just paused because I realized, oh my gosh, this guy is a minister. His wife is the sweetest person in the world. And they both turned around and looked at me, and I'm like, oh my God. And then they both started laughing uncontrollably. And so to this day, when either one of us have to cross that bridge, at some point we'll call the other one and say, hey, just thinking about you. And you're like, did you cross the bridge? And they're like, yeah. And he tells me to this day that they still laugh about that one.
Yes. I think a lot of your students have had a lot of fun with that over the years,
yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. And their coaches and their parents and everyone has fun with it, except for me.
Maybe me too, once in a while.
Absolutely.
Another one that stands out to me, and I guess it's because this was my first experience with traveling with students, especially going abroad, was the bad tour guide experience.
Oh.
That is something I will never forget. We had a tour guide when we were traveling across Europe that had to bring out her phone and look up the location where we were going to. She got us lost going to a restaurant.
Lost her phone in the Louvre.
She could not find anywhere we were supposed to be. Good thing we had Franco as our bus driver, because he knew his way around and kind of knew the tour himself after doing it so many times. She had to look up information on her phone. At one point, she reached over and handed the microphone to you to lead the tour.
She did. And I mean, it's cool. I'm a history teacher and everything, but, it was painful at the end when I had to pay her those tips per day, you know, and it was one of those things that's customary, and, it still did it, but it was a little painful because, there were times like looking for her phone that really cut into probably an hour and a half.
We ended up with 45 minutes in the Louvre. That doesn't cover anything. We were literally running laps through that place trying to look at stuff.
But, that's all right because we checked it off the bucket. We checked it off, and then when we go back, we have a lot of time. And, so again, let me say this about tour guides, though. The 10 or 11 tours that I've done in Europe, and then the other ones I've done in the United States, probably maybe 30 tours total with, we had one bad tour guide.
Bad one. That's it.
And the rest
and
were...
I think that was just a fluke. Right. I think she may have been new. I think she was, just unprepared for that tour. Like maybe they didn't prep her. Right. But it led to some very funny moments, including one where one of the students was sitting on top of the top bunk in the overnight train.
Oh, yeah.
Crisscross applesauce with her arms crossed, glaring across the room at midnight. I remember looking up and seeing that because we had all the girls in one room. And so our daughter and I were in there with them, and it was so funny. It was hilarious. They were done at that point with that tour guide.
Absolutely. Other things are things that one of my favorite memories was that we had a kid that he was a foodie, and maybe the ultimate foodie. And in Europe, Asia, anywhere you go, their vending machines have all sorts of stuff in it.
Yeah.
And some of it just smells absolutely horrible. Some of it is wonderful. But it didn't matter if we were in the metro and there was a vending machine.
He was going to try.
He was going to get something, man. And the joke was, and I said he never met a vending machine he didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
But the best part of him was when we were leaving London. We were going through customs, and they were like, so, and he was in front of me, and he said, so you've been in London for 3 or 4 days, did you see this? Did you see that? And he's like, oh, yeah. And he said, and then the guy said, so what was the absolute best thing about London? What's your favorite thing? And he said, oh, the vending machines. And the custom guy started laughing. The custom guy went and got his boss because he said he had been working there 25 years, and the vending machines had never been that. So.
I love that one. I love it. Kids bring so much joy on these trips. It's so much fun to see things through their eyes. I mean, who would have thought, that a vending machine, but if you stop and think about it, it's really unique. I mean, it's really cool because they are different everywhere. And from a kid's perspective, that's something they do all the time is they run to the vending machine, at school or wherever they are, and they grab a snack, and they were doing the same thing, but wow, it was different,
Another one had to do with translations. Okay, so a lot of times when you have the tour bus, you have your headphones and you put them in these little jacks.
Yeah.
And for different languages, so you could put whichever language you have, you put it with a corresponding language. And so we get off, and I have my headphones in, and I'm listening, and we're in this bus tour, and I'm like, man, God, that's so simple. Why are they talking to me like I'm a child? Oh my gosh! And it was like, look to the right, and you will see the big red building, and I'm like. Man, what the heck, or
like you have Dora as
right,
a tour guide.
Yeah, like I have Dora as a tour guide, and it's like
there's the big red barn.
Yeah, exactly. And so I get off, and one of the kids asked me a question. I said, "Yeah, well, da-da-da," and I was like, "Well, how'd you know that?" And he said, "It was on the tour," and I was like, "Or they were talking about it on the audio," and I'm like, "Were they?" And I was like, "Not to me. They were like, I don't know, elementary talking to me." And later on, when we get back on the bus, I look, and one of the jacks are for adults and one are for children. And so I have gotten this Dora the Explorer, Carmen Sandiego tour. But I tell you, if you have children, it is pretty
great.
Good.
It's great. Cool. Just make sure you plug into the right one.
Right. Absolutely.
One of the other things that can be interesting when you take students abroad is a little bit of culture shock sometimes, and I think you experienced that in Pompeii with a group that you took.
Okay, so I was with a church group, and they had asked me if I would come and just help them. We had a tour guide, but they had just asked me if I would kind of help them manage some stuff since they hadn't been out of the country.
Yeah.
Many of them hadn't been out of the country before, and I was like, okay. And so we get to Pompeii, and the tour guide's talking about where we're going, and so I go and I start talking to a couple of the moms in there, and I'm like, hey, this last part is, maybe something we need to think about. And the moms are like, oh no, it's about the culture, and we want the cultural experience and everything.
I don't think they wanted this part of the culture.
Well, again, that was Rome 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
The Roman Empire 2,000 years ago, and we come to this one area, and it's like this building we go into, and well, it was the brothel of Pompeii, with not so appropriate mosaics on the wall and things like that. And then all the moms are like covering their children's eyes and trying to get them out of them. And, they're asking the tour guide, why would you do this? And the tour guide's like, well, why wouldn't I, because
part of our culture.
Right.
Yeah.
And, but for me, it was just the shock, and, little Johnny's eyes are getting covered or whatever. But that was something. So again, whenever you go to these different cultures, understand when you go to these museums, when you go to these different places, kind of if you're not ready for that, then maybe you want to wait for your kids to be a little bit older.
Yeah.
Or have a conversation because
things are different.
Yeah, because they don't use fig leaves to cover much.
No, not at all. It's something that I find funny, and this has happened with our daughter actually one time when she was little, is kids finding American food in different cultures. And it's like the most exciting thing ever for them to see Popeyes or Kentucky Fried Chicken or Wendy's or McDonald's or something in a different country. And they are going to pick that guaranteed over any kind of cultural experience that they could be offered.
It's steak Florentine or Wendy's. Kids are going to want Wendy's. Okay. One of the funny things is, even as an adult, whenever I just came back from Turkey, there were maybe 2 or 3 days over there that I ate my Popeyes chicken. So my daughter gets it, honestly. But she does. Where was that?
We were actually in Epcot. We were at the Germany Pavilion in Epcot. And she looks around at the buffet and goes, "Nope, I'm playing it safe. I'm having mac and cheese."
and so she absolutely did. And so you have the whole range of students, that go from the one kid who would eat anything, and then Jordan, our daughter, who would eat, just very, very picky about it.
She's grown since then. She'll eat anything now, but yeah, as a kid, it was. I am not tasting that stuff. I am going to go with what I know.
now that being said, I've eaten it. I've been out of the country with groups, and we ate something, and I kind of pushed it, and then it didn't agree with any of us, and so so we got to take that one on our own.
And sometimes we're guilty of the same thing too. I know you sent me a picture from your trip to Turkey recently, and you ate at Popeyes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I ate there maybe 2 or 3 times. But
in your defense, it was a third the price of the Popeyes here in the United States.
It was. So absolutely. But what's so fun is, that kids, they bring their own snacks. They figure out, over there that, one of the kids bought some gummy bears, and we were in Rome. And so we were in the Castel San Angelo, and they're sitting there all up sharing a bag of gummy bears overlooking the Vatican. And those things are just really, really cool. Funny, really but cool.
Yeah. And, I think the last thing we're probably going to talk about today, because we've got to wind this up at some point. We could go all day with this, is beware of festivals. When you take kids traveling, things happen that you're not prepared for sometimes.
Well, events that, festivals, we could kind of look and say, hey, there's a festival here or there. But that doesn't always happen.
Nope. No, it doesn't.
And, for example, being in Paris when France wins the World Cup, that presented some challenges.
Yes. We have pictures. We need to share those pictures. We have pictures of the massive,
like over a million people, over 1 million people there.
Yeah.
So that could hinder travel plans a little bit. Also, in Europe specifically, inner city soccer games that are big, that everybody's going to that.
Deal.
It's just like being in New York when they had the Subway series.
Yeah.
And trying to get there. You got to take that in consideration, especially when you're moving, not just you, but 15, 20
Groups
kids.
of kids, yeah.
And one of my favorite ones is not really checking in on something, but we were in Venice and we wanted to go. One of the best views there is from the bell tower there in St. Mark's, and so we all go up there in St. Mark's, and it's wonderful. And then it's like noon, and then the bell starts ringing. And it's big and it's loud, and the kids
and
are
you're
like,
trapped with it.
The kids are like, "What are you doing?" So
you weren't prepared for that one.
I was not prepared for that one.
No.
But if you go, you need to go maybe at 1 instead of 12. So it's
check the bell schedule.
Right, that's it. So, something that kids know about.
Yes. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us today, and thanks for following along. We really appreciate it. And remember, check out our social media, follow us there, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow our podcast. And remember, break the monotony,
not the bank. Hey, keep those
comments coming,
comments and questions and things coming, because
we love it.
Because this was actually one that was posted by one of our
followers on Instagram.
Right. Hey, what's some of the funnier things? So that's what we've got.
Yeah, we would love to hear more from you. Thanks, guys.
Have a great week.
Have a great day.